Welcome back. This is the second video. In the video previous, we went over polish, trim, planar, pinch, brushes, general sculpting brushes for hard surface or flattening. And they have their uses, and they're cool. We have a lot more ways to establish hard surface or flat edges, sharp corners. This video will cover the clipping brushes and panel loops. To reiterate something that was said in the first video, make sure you have enough geometry to support any hard surface sculpting or detailing that you're going to do. If it's not high enough, it's going to be very pixely and it's not going to look as sharp and correct as you would like it to. So let's get into the clipping brushes. So to access those, you want to hold down Control and Shift like you're going to hide and show parts of the model. I already have something here, but if you do Control and Shift, it usually starts out with Select Rectangle, so you can hide parts of your model. But we're going to change what that function is. So hold down Control and Shift, then click on the brush. We're going to do Clip Curve. So what that does is it makes you create a line and it will it looks like it will slice out everything after the line, but what it's really doing is bringing all the geometry past the line, bringing it all down to a flat plane. So it's kind of magic. But one thing I would do before you start using these brushes is get out of perspective. Keep it at an orthographic view, because if you're trying to make a clean line down and you're in a perspective view, it's not going to slice it all the way through exactly. So if we're trying to make this organic thing and turn it inorganic, we want hard edges, or maybe that's the style. Holding down Control and Shift, now that you have the clip curve, and just drag. Now I'm dragging and I have this other end. Now, at this point, I can let go of the Control and Shift. And now all I'm doing is holding down the left mouse button. But I'm kind of stuck here. If I want to move it, all I have to do is hold down the space bar. And now I can move it to where I want to. But I'm still holding down the left mouse click. So if I want to cut an edge all the way down here and make it sharp, I can now position and then let go. And then once I do that, I'm still holding on to the left mouse click. You can see this kind of gradient coming from the dotted line. That's the direction in which it's going to clip. So if I let go, you can see that it made a nice slice right through, but actually it didn't. It just brought all the geometry that was past it, flattened it down. Kind of brought it all to the same plane. But you can see that this is very clean lines, very sharp edges. So this is a great tool to get some quick flat edging. If you want to change directions, so if I do Control and Shift and drag it out again, I let go of the Control and Shift, and I'll hold in space bar to move it. Now if I double click the Alt key, it will change direction. Almost like a lasso in Photoshop. You don't have to complete the circle or complete a loop, but you can see as I'm moving it around, you can see that gradient changing direction. That's the direction in which it's going to chop off. That was wrong. Let me do that again. So double tap on Alt, and then I let go. So you can see you get some nice angled forms here. Now, if I do the same thing again, but instead of double tapping the Alt, I just hit it once, it does more of like a curve. If I do it again, I can kind of create this natural curve. Now if I let go, you can see it's a different look than the other one. So if you want more of a curve, that's why it's called clip curve. So it's more of a Bezier. One thing to be careful of is when you do the clip curve, if the main thing is to cut off this piece, that's fine. But if you're going to cut off something like this hand, see how it flattens it out here? It's because it's looking at what it's cutting down, and again, it's bringing everything flat to the line. So it's not actually cutting it and getting rid of the other half of, on the other side of the dotted line. What it's doing is it's taking everything beyond the dotted line and bringing it and flattening it down to this line. So if it's an uneven shape, you're going to see that the edge of that finger, if you look at the way this is, like the very edge of this knuckle here, if we brought it all the way straight down, it's going to meet this imaginary line that we made and put all the geometry there. Let's see it. So look at where kind of the knuckle is. Now from here it looks fine. When I turn, but that's not really what you want. It made it nice and flat. It's still taking the shape of the hand and just bringing it all flat down. So it's a little deceiving in its function. If I want to chop off the whole arm, see? It's almost like taking like the silhouette of it and flattening it down. So if you're really just trying to chop off limbs and everything, this isn't the brush. This isn't the brush. We do have a brush that we can use called Slice Curve. So same thing, Control Shift, click in here, and now you'll see Slice Curve. Now what this works with is it actually slices through the model and doesn't get rid of it, but it makes this line. So a way to really see how this works is to turn on the polyframe. I'm just going to do Control W to make it all one polygroup, just to show. So if I want to cut off this arm, now that I have Slice Curve, you will see that when I slice it, it actually sliced all the way through and made a new polygroup. So polygroups are going to be important with this. So if I just wanted to cut off the arm, I could do this and then Alt, double tap Alt. And you can see that it sliced through it and made a separate polygroup, a new one. Now in order to actually slice the model, we need to re-dynamesh it or turn it on if you don't have it. So go into Dynamesh. It's on, but what we want to make sure is we have groups on, and for hard surface stuff, polish is probably a good idea too, but we'll show the difference between them. And make sure that your resolution is high enough. I don't know if 192 is high enough, but we'll see. So we'll do Control and drag. And you can see it does slice the model, but we definitely don't have enough resolution here to support that cut. So let's bring it up to maybe 512. Control and drag. Better, we could definitely go higher, but you can see that it's nice and clean. One thing that you'll notice is I have symmetry on, but it did not do it on this side. So that's a bummer. And if you want to have it both the same on each side, if you want it to be symmetrical, my suggestion would be to do all your cuts on the left-hand side, so then you can go to, in your geometry panel, modify topology, mirror and weld to the other side. Now what happened is it looks at the left side and mirrors it to the right side, which is why we just lost our line here, our cut. So what I would do is first make your cut, but I do it on the left side. Then do Control and drag for Dynamesh. Now mirror and weld on the right side. Now if you go in with this very lightly with the smooth, so hold down Shift, very, very lightly. You might even want to bring down the intensity to just make this a little easier to manage. But if you go very lightly, you can make this feel like a panel, like a robot panel line or something. Now I still think that I should have more geometry in here because it is a little pixely, but it does start to give this kind of plain character some character. It starts to look more like it's an inorganic, maybe a mechanical thing. Now if I re-Dynamesh again, it might help. But if we try to do Dynamesh again and turn on polish, this might give us a little bit more of a sharper edge. See? Looks a lot nicer. So you could have polish on at the same time. So let's do another cut for the leg here. Cut. Oh, what's interesting is it did it on the other side too. So let's do Control and drag. I polished it at the same time. So you could come in here now with the smoothing. Might actually do it without it first. I'll take off polish. Gives you a little bit more of a bevel if you don't do it. Well, you can probably change some of this stuff in the settings. I never go into the settings. And I'll do it again, but turn on polish. Nice clean line. So that's quick slice, but I did want to go over a very common problem that happens with quick slice, and this is hard to talk about it with this model, so let's go over to a different tool, and I will make it a polymesh. And then I will use Dynamesh, give it a little bit more resolution. Okay. Using the quick slice, say I wanted to make panels on here. Here we go. Alt, like this. If I make this slice, I don't know if you can see it. Let me undo it to see if I can get a better color. It's a little hard to see. Okay, so that's good. So we have this slice. Now, if we turn on groups and do Control Drag, you're going to see that it did make the cut. But if you hide everything, if I do Control and Shift and change this back to Select, and I hide it, you can see what it's done here. Is it made a clean cut, but it doesn't know how to fill in the gaps between where I cut. And if you want this to be a clean slice, like it's straight line here, that's going to be a problem using this method. So there's a trick to doing this. And first it would probably require you turning off symmetry. So do X to turn it off. I'll just slice all the way across. Then I'm going to slice up, but first I'm going to Dynamesh this with groups on, like this. So you can see that's nice and flat. But now I'm going to go up like this, and then Dynamesh that. So now you'll see I have 4 parts here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just hide. See how this one's nice and flat now? I'm going to hide it. Actually, I'm sorry, I'll keep groups on. But I'm going to do Control W to make this all one group, and then unhide it, and then re-Dynamesh again. So now you'll see I only have 2 groups, the one that I cut and the one kind of the leftover. Now if I hide it, you can see I have a nice clean cut here. So that's kind of the trick. What happens is you just have to slice it into pieces and then kind of re-Dynamesh and kind of weld them all back together. It does leave a little bit to be desired here. So if we go back, if we want to do something more complex, I'll do this one last time and we'll stop this video. So maybe I want to make a stair step detail. So those are 2 methods: clip curve, slice curve. And the last one I'm going to talk about, which to some extent negates all of this is the panel loops feature. So let's go back to Cave Troll, and what this does is it works with polygroups as well. So first we need to use our masking. I will use mask lasso. So say I want to do some like panels on the shoulder pads. I'll do mask lasso, and I'll just make this. Bring up the resolution 1024. That should be enough. Let's do this again. So hold down the Control for the lasso for masking. And then I'm going to do Control and Alt and click to sharpen this line up a little bit more. Now, this could be a problem what I'm going to do because panel loops works with polygroups, and we already have polygroups, so it will probably mess up what we already have. So if I want to do these pads, before I do this, I should have done so we'll go into groups or split. We'll go into group split. Okay. So now it made every part of this model, every polygroup its own. So now we can focus on just the body here. Now we can do what we want to do. So let's do, again, let's make these shoulder pads. Control and Alt. Sharpen this up. And then what we want to do is do Control W to make those a new polygroup. You'll notice that the character kind of inflates slightly. So let's go to Geometry and in Panel Loops. You can probably see two things. One, that the line's super wavy and gross. And two, the body inflated slightly. So just watch his silhouette. He puffs up a little bit. This might not be what you want. This is just how panel loops works. So this could destroy how things match up after. So if we unhid the other subtools, you can see now it doesn't even match up anymore. So this is something that you definitely have to be careful of when doing panel loops. But maybe what we could do is mask it and then try it. I don't know. I'm just thinking that maybe that will help not do it. Not inflate it the way we thought. No, see, it still inflates the whole thing. But if this is what you want, then this works pretty cool. What you can do also is change the polish number. If I do maybe 10, see, it's starting to straighten it out a little bit more. It's still a little wavy, but let's bring it up a little bit. See, at 38, it's starting to really do it. So let's bring it up to maybe 50. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Panel loops. So getting pretty straight here. You can keep going all the way up, but let's try it one more time. Let's just bring it all the way up to 100. There, 100 looks kind of sweet. So what you could do from here, do this, then hide it, flip it, and then use the move key bring this out, then maybe scale it. Does some weird stuff. It actually gives it an inside, so you have these polygroups to be careful of. So what would be cool, and you could probably do this, is we didn't think of it beforehand, is take this model prior to all of this. Now duplicate it. And I'll do Control W so it's all one. Go back to this one, and then we'll do the panel loops. Then I can do split unmasked points. Subtool, split, split unmasked. And then I'm going to take this one that I just did, and I'm going to delete them. So now you have this piece on here, on your original, as like its own subtool. That way it feels more like an armor piece. It's not part of the body at all. So that's pretty cool. It's a nice way to make some armor, or at least the beginning stages of armor. You can go in and start sculpting on it, I guess, if you want. But I wanted to just show you those couple tools. They can be useful. Again, be careful with panel loops. You can get some cool results, but it does inflate the model. So I think in general, this would probably be the best way to do it if you were making panels or things that go on top of your character's body or a mesh or something. Kind of duplicate the model so you can perform these panel loops, and then delete kind of the leftover and kind of lay it on top of the duplicated model, because you don't want this thing puffed up, because you want to be able to have these things match up correctly, right? So that's it, and we'll cover the next set of tools in the next video.